some members and they say, okay, this is advanced astrology, I don't know anything, so it's going to be as I'm listening in Chinese. So the idea is to talk about astrology the same way when you're looking the Hollywood movie with cops and that stuff. You don't know how to do it, but it should be interesting, so that's what I'm going to try to do. And so the first we are going to talk about some general points of what is the astrology, and then some basic notions of what is the traditional and predictive astrology, and then how this works to make predictions year by year, day by day, and what we can do to change those predictions if we don't like it. That's the most important thing. So, first, today on our breakfast, we're talking with Orlando, and we're always talking with Orlando, and he said that when we are reading Paul Case, that we are just reading, that he had sometimes a mind-blowing concept. So the first of those mind-blowing concepts is this one, that the whole universe is the body of man, and the women, I'm sorry, but it was... sorry, that's Paul Case from 1930, I don't know, so that's why we need to modernize it, okay. So, the whole universe is the body of men and women and ladies and gentlemen. So, okay, why is this so important for astrology? Because in astrology we used to consider that there are stars and they are command me and say what I'm gonna do, and they have some kind of influences on me, and that I have some kind of, then we have inner stars and they have outer stars and things like that. So what the case said here, that's not true, according to Case. There is just one big body, and it's mine. This is not only my body, all the universe is my body. And as Paul Case used to explain, that we are one. And also everything is outside of me, it's just my subconsciousness. So all the material world is just part of mine, yours, and everybody's subconsciousness. So when we are looking at the stars in the moment of our birth, it's not that just I'm looking to the stars and they have some kind of energy that's sending to me and control me like a puppet. No, it's a picture of my subconsciousness and my personality in the moment of my birth. So that's the mind-blowing point when we realize who we are, that we are not limited to this body, that this body is just a consequence of it. So everything about astrology is just the explanation of our personality. I'm not subjected to the stars. The stars are just a messenger to explain my personality, because the cause of all events is my personality, is me. So don't kill the messenger. The stars are just a messenger. So the star just explains who I am, and that's the cause of everything that's going to happen. So the cause of the events that are going to occur is my personality. So if I want to change something, essentially I need to change my personality. So the cause is always inner. That's what we are learning in Epilogue. So there is not outside stars. So they are mine. This is my personality. This is me. So this is one of the most important points on the astrology, and it's fundamental and important to our philosophy. So before we start to talk about this, we need to comment that astrology is one of the most ancient sciences. And before, it was always and constantly connected to magic. And as we can see here. So, since those ancient days, astrology and magic have been considered one science practiced by the ancient magicians of Alexandria, Babylonia. And yesterday, we were talking about some of these people, and here, so you can say, Orlando, that I really know who Marsilio Ficino is because it's here, I didn't make it up. I know who he is, though. And he's one of my favorites. So all those persons, Pythagoras, Ptolemy, Apollonius, Paracelsus, Robert Flav, Nicholas Flamel, John Dee, Cornelius Agrippa, Marsilio Ficino, they were all magicians and they are all astrologers. because it's absolutely connected to our mysteries, because it's a reading of who we are and what we are going to do with it. So, with the appearance of the famous Order of the Golden Dawn, something happened. And it's like seems that divorce between astrology and magic kind of took place. And why is that so? Because they were always working together. The magic and astrology was just one single science. And what happened? So in his letter to Israel Regardier, Paul Case explains that when he made kind of criticism of a Golden Dawn, of teachings of the Golden Dawn, and he explains that the paper that Golden Dawn gave to their members on astrology are so bad that nobody couldn't develop any skill in astrology in the Golden Dawn, because they have very, very bad, very awful papers on astrology. So, generally Golden Dawn said, okay, there is nothing about astrology, let's do magic. Okay. And then let's do magic, you know, that stuff, and there is a lot of things that we still have we still have about astrology and the Golden Dawn and all this stuff and the rituals, etc. But we don't know how to use it. You know, as a matter of fact, Golden Dawn. So, so it's one of the reasons that this divorce started to take place, and there was a point on which this divorce, and we know each divorce started to affect the children. So this, in this case, this divorce affected astrology, because it's turned to be each time more profane astrology and psychoastrology, and it's not bad to be psychoastrology, I mean, it's fine, but it started to change their point, and without magic for the astrology, it's difficult to transform those negative determinations, because the point anciently in magic and astrology is not just to read the charts, okay, so bad what's going to happen to me. No, but this was to change it, to do something, and that's when the magic come up. And also, without astrology, magic cannot find the right applications for all those planetary zodiacal and elemental rituals. Practitioners cannot find a way to use all those tools to transform their personality and become efficient challenge for the superior forces, the expansion. We're going to talk about this a little later. So, when that divorce happened, what occurred is that each of the two disciplines start to lose power. So, why do modern magicians avoid astrology? Yeah, there are many reasons. The first one is the Golden Dawn heritage. Yeah, okay, we like to put a lot of robes and all that stuff aside, and take swords and wail and invoke and go chant and get high. That's part of it. But when the moment comes that we need to learn and to develop things and to study and to make calculation and all these things, then it's kind of difficult, because we are living in a kind of culture when we prefer light coffee and thing easy or instant magic. So I call it light magic instead of magic of light. so that also it's important, because I hated astrology. It was something that I was very bad with astrology, and I realized that that's something that I need to develop. I hate when I don't know something, you know. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to do my best to learn. And I started with Wade's course that we have in the FLO. And as I'm talking with Wade, said, yeah, you need to make hundreds of charts if you want to do astrology. And it's true. And I got a lot of study and specialization in astrology. So it really takes time, but it pays off, you know. And also, another reason is the lack of traditional astrology schools that connects to magic, because we can find a lot of things, you know, that are kind of, once more, psychoastrology and the way that the self expresses itself and how I live my emotions and all that stuff. It's fine, but it's not the traditional predictive astrology we're going to talk about right now. So there is a lack of traditional astrology school that actually make connection to magic, so that can be interesting for the magician. So, fortunately, we have this guy named Jean-Baptiste de Morin. Did I say this well in French? Of course I didn't. De Morin de Villefranche. He was famous because he was the personal astrologer of Cardinal Richelieu. And he, in one moment of his life, he got very disappointed in astrology, and he almost wants to quit astrology because he failed to predict the death of one duke for 11 minutes. He was 11 minutes late to predict that death. And he was like, okay, astrology, I don't want to know anything about it, it's not precise. Eventually he returned. But it's, he's very famous about his work and his predictions. And also traditional astrology survived thanks to a Spanish school, the Andalus school, because you know we have Jews there, we have the Arabians, and the Spanish school is very strong about it. We are going to talk about it a little bit later. So today I'm going to give a lot of practical exercises that we can do actually. So I want to promote here the software. It's astrospeaker.net, and to say that it's made by our probationer that we have in Europe. Is a famous Spanish astrologer. His name is Elias Molins. He's a young astrologer and very famous. So he has this, it's a free online program, and there is an application in Google, and also you can, soon is going to be available also for the iOS. It's Astro, like Astro, Spica is the star. As a matter of fact, he liked that star because he has that star in ascendant. So it's an astrospica.net, and there is, I asked him specially for this occasion to make the English version. This was not in English, so I asked him to do it in English, and he did. I don't know the process of a registration, but it's very easy to do. And in this software, you can find all the techniques you need to apply to interpret the chart in a traditional way, with all kinds of predictions and all that stuff. So, once told that, let's start with, as Orlando said yesterday, I'm going to start to torture you. But not with gematria, I'm going to torture with astrology. But I want to try to be kind of good torture. Okay, so there are, before we enter in what is the predictions, just want to say something about these four important factors of traditional predictive astrology that's almost forgotten in the modern astrology. So first is the concept of the dominant planet. The dominant planet is the director of all other planets. It commands. So, doesn't matter how are the other planets, if we have a good dominant planet, it's going to help us. If we get a bad dominant planet, it's going to make troubles. So, which are the dominant planets? We can find the dominant planets on the angles of the chart. That's ascendant, midheaven, here we don't have any planet, and this is the descendant and imum. So, the most important planet is the planet that we can find on the ascendant. When we do casting of the talismans, am I right, Wade? Please correct me. We need to put the planet, the most important point, on the ascendant. That's what Agrippa told us. So to make it dominate, to make it rule the chart, to make it the master of the chart, or on the midheaven. So if we don't have a planet on the ascendant, then we look in the chart for the midheaven. So the midheaven is going to be then dominant if we don't have a dominant planet on the ascendant. Then we go to the next angle, to the descendant, and then if there is no planets on
ascendant, midheaven, descendant, and emunquent. Then we are going to pick the planet that is on the cuspid of one of the houses. That's going to be a dominant planet. If there is no such a configuration, the dominant planet is going to be the ruler of the ascendant. I'm not going to give a lot of details on it in order to avoid to get you sleep, everybody. So we are going to make the advanced astrology course. So everybody who is going to be interesting to learn more about predictive astrology, they're going to get to take the program and see. So that's the first point. This planet commands. Okay. Cosmic situation of the planet, that's another important thing that almost a lot of people don't take care of in the modern astrology, because if a planet is in a good cosmic situation, doesn't matter his essential nature, he will act as a benefic planet. I'm going to see the case right now. So, doesn't matter if it is Saturn, doesn't matter if it is Mars, doesn't matter if it's Pluto. If we find him in a chart in a good cosmic situation, he is going to act well. If we find it in the bad cosmic situation, doesn't matter if it's a good planet, he's going to act wrong. So, it's like a good guy or a bad guy in a good mood. So you're in a salon, you know, something like that, and there is some bad guy enters, you know, and everybody gets scared. And then he's in a good mood, so he invites drink for everybody. So you got scared? That's something like, you got scared. But finally the things went perfectly. So that's something like Saturn or Mars when they're in a good mood, you know, in a good situation. So we're going to talk a little bit more about it.
So
and,
do you also get a good guy in a bad mood?
Yeah, of course. You're going to see that. Good guys in the bad mood, they are also awful as well as a bad guy. So that way they're moving the chart. And the Almuten, I'm going to talk, Almuten, I don't know how to say it in English. It's just, it's very complicated. I'm going to explain it very quickly. The Almuten is the real ruler of the specific degree of the chart. So when we say that the Venus rules Libra, it's a simplification. Yet it's true, but it's a simplification because it doesn't rule every degree on Libra by day or by night. So if we want to be very specific, we need to check the specific degree where the planet is to see determination. I'm going to give you an example right now. And finally, the part of fortune and misfortune. This is a mistake. She said misfortune. They are mathematical points. They are like the Arabian points that have a strong determination, parts of fortune for the good things and misfortune for the bad things. Okay, so we used to say we need to know just the basics of astrology to interpret the chart and that's it. Well, that's wrong because there is a lot of things you need to know in order to interpret the chart correctly. And we will see an example of these are the dominant planets. Oh yeah. These are the cosmic situation. And this is the Astrospica. That's why it's a very good software, especially for the beginners, because it's a very difficult calculation of the cosmic situation of the planet. Because we take into consideration the essential dignities of the planet, the disposer of the planet, the almutin of the planet, aspects, and fixed stars. So this is all condensed here. So you go to Astrospica, write the chart, go to the cosmic situation in Newton, and there we're going to explain with this for the beginners. We have the intensity of the planet, the quality of the planet, and we see the mood of the planet if we are beginners. So we want to know how it's going to act. So the Jupiter is very happy here, Saturn is very happy, Uranus is kind of nasty, you know. Pluto, we can see all of that. So that's why that we see how the planet is going to behave on a chart. And so, here's the example. When we can see we are good astrologers, we're going to see the chart, and we're going to say, okay, this is a female chart. Well, Sun in Leo, 7th house, very well married. Jupiter in the 2nd house, both in domicile, Leo And the domicile Saturn, a rich woman. Rich and very well married. And she almost can be dedicated to something very spiritual, and that's that she may be a writer or something like that. No. And when somebody tells you that is completely wrong, you're going to say that astrology doesn't work. And you want to quit astrology. And what Ben Ezra used to say, that astrology is perfect, the only problem is you don't know. So that's all. So don't blame me. And why? What's happening in this chart? First, we didn't take into consideration the dominant planet. And the dominant planet is Saturn in a bad mood. So when the Saturn in a bad mood, it's really rough. So he delays, he bothers all other planets because he's dominant from the mid-heaven. So she's eventually going to get married, but Saturn delays everything and make it harder, make it difficult, And what about her job? Well, she's not rich. She's not dying of hunger. No, because Saturn never likes to die of hunger in the second house. Especially when it's domicile, but I'm sorry, it's Jupiter never lets it. But why? This is a bad Jupiter. This is a good guy in a bad mood. Look what he does. And why he's in a bad mood? Because this is a misfortune here. Misfortune, that's also another traditional point, that he destroys the cosmic situation of the Jupiter. And there is more to it. This is the cuspid of the second house. And we go to the famous Almuten that I'm not going to explain right now because it's too complicated. The exact ruler of the Almuten of this second house of money, how she gets money, is which one? Who rules here?
Mars.
In Pisces, it's supposed that the ruler is Jupiter. Well, it is not, because if we go to the exact degree of Pisces, where the cuspid of the second house is, the ruler is Venus. The winner of the essential dignities is Venus here. Okay, and this is Venus from the 8th house. And the 8th house, what is the 8th house? And what else?
Inheritance.
And what else?
Sex.
Sex! Yeah, don't be shy. It's sex. Don't be shy. Okay, it's sex. So, we have Venus, but it's Venus in domicile, am I right? Okay, so Venus is in the domicile, am I right?
Yes.
So it's a strong Venus. Wrong. Because if we go again to the Almuten of the exact degree of that Venus, the ruler is a bad Saturn. So, when a bad Saturn embraced Venus, it's the old man. Am I right? So, it's kind of off, am I right? Okay. So, when that bad Venus rules her money, how can we interpret that? What's the interpretation? We have a bad Venus from the house of sex, embraced with Saturn ruling her second house. What is she doing for a living?
Prostitution.
She is a prostitute, yeah, well done. Yeah, you see how easy that was that? So she's not married and she's prostitute, and everything is perfectly here. So it's just that we need a lot in the order to know enough. Otherwise, if somebody gives us this chart, then we're going to give a very wrong interpretation, and we're going to say that astrology is not working. No, it's just we don't know. That's the problem. So, now we are coming to the quadrivium of prognosis. So, if we see the chart, we have determinations. And that determination means what's going to happen. And something that are here that we determine is absolutely going to happen, but we don't know when. So, the quadrivium of prognosis helps us to see when the thing is going to happen, which year, which day, and which minute, but for that I have to ask the Morini, and then we're going to get disappointed. No, not that much. Okay, so there is a common belief that we have a transits, and the transits going to say everything what's going to happen. So we have a chart, and that makes that the way how the planets is moving right now is going to determine what's going to happen. Sorry. So, as we can see in this quadrivium, this hierarchy of prognosis, the transits are in the last place, the less important. And first, how this works, you know, we have the wheel of our chart, and then we're going to imagine we're going to put copy paste, and then we're going to put another wheel over our chart, and we're going to start to move that upper wheel, and depending on the positions and aspects that are taken by one and another wheel, we're going to see how the interpretation is going to be liberated, and I'm going to explain it right now. So, the primary directions is the most important. They rule, they are the law. So nothing can happen before the primary direction says something. If it's not the primary direction saying otherwise, that's not going to happen that way. Because that's the traditional name, primary directions. And they move the other chart, the clock, 1 degree per year. The other, that's the secondary progressions, they are moving the other wheel 1 day per year. So, if let's say that I'm born in 1983, and I'm born in 1973, so okay, let's say, so if I'm born in 1983, 20 of April, and the secondary progression means that when in the 21 of April is determination for my first life, for my first year of life. Second, third, it's a secondary progression. Now comes the interesting part. The solar revolutions. So it's a birthday revolution. What does that mean? That's the chart that is risen, that we rise on the moment when the sun is in the same degree when I was born. So to say, each year I have one solar revolution. And that solar revolution I'm going to use to predict day by day what's going to happen to me in this year according to these primary and secondary directions. Nothing can go out of it. Okay, solar revolution and finally transits. They are influence of the social part, the political part of what is going to happen. So, these are some important things that we have to take into consideration. These are ilex called ilex. So, it's sun, midheaven, ascendant, sun, moon, and a part of fortune. So we see this wheel here, and the other is my natal chart inside. So, out and inside. The significator are moving, the promisores, so to say in Spanish, are moving, and the significator doesn't move. And I'm going to explain it very well. So, let's see how this works. When we have a determination in the chart, we know that that's going to happen, but we don't know when. But when we have a specific aspect, so okay, it is not conjunction, it's not technically aspect, but I'd say that it's aspect. If we have some significant conjunction there with a planet related, that is going to be brought to life. That's going to be brought to the manifestation in that moment, in that year. So, if this is my chart here. So, here, and the out, it is moving. So, if we have here my chart, and we can see that the 9th house is ruled by Venus in the 4th house, what does that mean? There is a traditional determination that is said, because the Venus is home, and the 9th house are long journeys. So, what does that could mean? That I'm going to live in another country. I'm going to have home, there's Venus in the 4th house, in another country. So, there's a determination that astrologer can say in my birth, the traditional astrology. But when is going to happen this to me? And then I go to the year 1999. That's the year when I get to Mexico. And here we can see the Mercury. That's the symbol and the planet of movement. Hitting here, make conjunctions with my Sun and Venus. Activates the Venus. And that's the year when this determination from the natal charts is brought to life. That happens. So, that's the first thing that happens. Here, another thing is happening. What is this? What we call him? This is a part of fortune. And where is it hitting?
Saturn.
No, it's together with Saturn. Saturn is up here.
Yeah.
The Saturn was already there like 3 years before.
Okay.
3 or 4 years before.
Okay.
And then now we have exact conjunction with the part of fortune and descendant. So I get married. This is how the marriage looks like in a prediction and prognosis. So that's the thing that happened. I get to Mexico, I get married. Everybody make mistakes. Okay, not about Mexico. I just say it. Not about Mexico. Maybe I should avoid something, you know. So that happened in 1999 in my primary direction. So we have this two clear determination, and then we go look for the next thing. And we have a secondary progression here for the same year. And this we have ascendant that is hitting ascendant with the Jupiter that is hitting here my natal Jupiter in the first house. What is the Jupiter means in the first house? Long travel. Am I right? Because it's ruling the ninth house. So that's the same thing is shown by the secondary progressions. My solar revolution for the same year. This is a ninth house, am I right? So we have Uranus that make a sudden voyages with the Neptune that is voyages over water. It's very clear. I mean, this is a language. And if we know the language, it's very easy to read it. We get frustrated because we don't know how to read. So we get something in Japanese. But I can say, what is this? I can't understand, but capable to read is very easy. Because it's something you just need a little bit learning in that. So at least these are transits. As you can see, nothing special happens. We have just Mercury moving here and there. We have some kind of complications here, but nothing special. So we couldn't use just transit to predict this. That is why the whole hierarchical prognosis is important. And we can go a little more further. These are primary directions for my year 2008. And now you're going to see how the divorce look like. That's the thing we're going to see. So, here we have Uranus. There is something Saturn that happened. It's a malefic. And he made the conjunction with Moon. And the Moon is ruler of the 7th house of marriage. And this is a very nasty moon. Yeah, it's a very nasty marriage. And the Uranus, it's hitting, it's breaking it, so that's the moment when I get divorced. And also, as my Pluto is not in a good cosmic situation, I have strong problems in work. And you can see here, the ascendant is hit, the misfortune together with Saturn is a really bad combination for the work because it's happening in the 6th house. A lot of troubles. Well, 2010, even worse. Yeah, I have a Mars in the ascendant. Everything breaks down, you know. Mercury that is related with also with my work and with my children was conjoined with the misfortune, and also I had here misfortune with Saturn that was also in the house of children, in both houses, and I have strong problems with the work and all that stuff. And my son got the diagnosis of severe autism, so that's how it looks like because the Mercury is ruling here my house of children and work. And Saturn is also in the same house, so that was the moment when this bad situation got obliterated. And I said, okay, something nice. Like 2 years ago, I got my moon on the ascendant, in 10th house is popularity, and here the sun and parts of fortune. And I was named that here one of the 100 most influential professionals in Mexican security business. So that was a good year. And that's how we can see that year by year we can see very easily what happened. We can read it very easily. And as you can see, I'm only using conjunctions because I'm a beginner. I don't want to make mistakes. So when I see that the two planets are conjuncted and there with the midheaven or some specific points of the chart, I absolutely know that something's going to happen. I'm sure about it, so I can say it. Otherwise, I might make mistakes. So, these are examples, but you can ask, okay, what's going to happen if you have a very positive primary directions, but you have like solar revolution that's kind of bad? Okay, so this is how it can look like. And this is exactly this year. So I was so arrogant as the magician I used to be. And so I said, okay, I don't care about what's going to happen in my solar revolution for this year because I have positive primary direction. So everything's going to be kind of fine. But what I even didn't look at this. And here we have a misfortune in Virgo, very close to the ascendant. And what is that? It's my health. So I got an awful stomach disease, and I lost weight because it is also my appearance. And I got very frustrated about it because this represents the frustration. And this is something that we can fix very easily. This is something to be fixed very easily. I'm going to explain it right now. So I have 15 minutes. So now, we can see very quickly here the day when the Spanish King Carlos made his abdication. Primary direction for the year 2014. So, what's the determination here? He has his midheaven ruled by Saturn in 12th house. So he's going to have a rise and then he's going to fall. That's the evidence. So, and he's going to fall because of the hidden enemies and the hidden stuff and all the hidden things that represent the Saturn entering the 12th house. So the symbol of the king is the sun hitting the Saturn, and that's the day of his abdication. In the secondary progression, yeah, of course, there is a mistress here, and it's Lilith. You can see it. Yeah, you know that there was a sexual scandal with the king, with the Spanish king. So, and we can see here the black moon, the Lilith, conjoined with the moon and the Mercury, and the scandal of corruption in the 12th house. It's a Mars with Uranus. They're things that are very easily activated. But everything's got to come together. In his solar revolution, the Spanish king, we also have that Lilith in the 10th house that everybody can see it. In the opposition here, so everybody saw it. And also in his transit, always there is something here and there. So, this, if we want to see more, this was the year, but this is the day. This is the day of his application. So we can see again here. And how we get the day-by-day prediction? Using solar revolution. That's why the solar revolution is so important. Because we do the same thing to the solar revolution and we get to the day. And then midheaven over Saturn, Mars or Chiron, and the misfortune in this part opposing to the ascendant. That was the day. But if we want to get more information, we go to lunar revolution, and what a rough day, 12. Am I right? So we can see everything here of the day of his abdication. I don't want to torture you more with this, but you can realize I can send you this to you so you can see it's very obvious what's going on in his chart. So, a couple of words of directions against transits. This is a new Mexican president, and we are hoping very much to save us. He's the savior. So, am I right, Orlando? Orlando is a bigger fan of him, yeah. So, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if we have his chart and we just do transits? We're going to make the prediction using transits to see if he's going to win the election. This is the election day. So, we are using transits. So, what's going to happen? Okay, Uranus opposed to Saturn, and that's bad. And also Mars square Saturn. That's very bad. So if I am a transit predictor, I'm going to say that he's going to lose. He's losing the election. Well, that's not right. because he actually win the election. Why? Because we see his primary directions. The primary directions are the law. That's the most important in prediction. So, the determination for the Pluto that John was talking about in the 12th house, when it's very good Pluto, it's the power to win your enemies. And that's coming to the midheaven. The ascendant go to the Mercury. Mercury is the ruler of the 10th house, the honors and privilege. And also Sun on the northern node, the head of a dragon. It's very evident. I said it to wait a couple of days before. I mean, you not need to be a magician and astrologer to predict the Lopez Obrador victory. It was obvious. But this was the astrological proof that that's what happened. So, finally, is this the absolute determination? Are we absolutely determined by the stars? Because everything is happening step by step. So, what do you think? Can we change or improve our chart? That's the most interesting and most important point. So let's see what one of the biggest magicians and alchemists said. The star is subjected to the wise. It must be ruled by him, and not him by the star. That's the most important thing. Because we are ruling the stars. Stars are not ruling us. And he also said, the stars only governs, control, coerce, and force a man, a woman. Okay? that's a Paracelsus. Who is still an animal, who cannot do more than follow the star. That's of utmost importance. As the thief cannot avoid the graveyard and the murder to the wheel of the torment, the fisherman to the fisher. So what does this mean? But this is because such a man does not know himself and does not know how to use the energies that are hidden inside him. So, what does this mean? That we are just as slaves of our personality. That's the essence. We need to keep repeating our same impulses. We keep repeating who we are. And that is the cause of our suffering. That was Paul Kay said. The personality is cause of all our suffering. So if we want to change our chart, if we don't like what happened, it is very easy. We just dissolve our personality. Create a new one. Get internal life and complete the great work. It's very easy. So everything, absolutely everything we need to know is here. Okay, and that's actually the point. Our chart determines our personality. And the personality determines our life. And that's the perfection in the alchemical work. And that's the most important thing, that transformation. And that is why we insist very much that we need, and it's very important to take in some moment of our life, the psychoanalysis. Because if I have my chart, I know my chart, I know my personality, I need somebody who can help me to make those changes. And that is what, and that's something that Paracelsus was very insisting on it. He said, you need to be stronger than you are. And the big point is that I made a lot of charts of CEOs or the normal people, of great adepts. And guess what? We are not better than anybody. We are still very much animal. I didn't see anyone who doesn't act like stars. So that's the most important thing that we have to do. And that's why we are here, to change, to get better, to transform. And that's the way we can rule our life. That's the most important thing. So we said that it is very easy to just dissolve a personality, get a new one, and that's it. But what we can do meantime, because it can take time. It can take a little time. So there is several methods of dominating the chart. The first one, I was just already said it. Know thyself. The best way to govern your destiny is to transforming yourself and working on yourself and transforming your negative traits. And I'm speaking this as I'm the one who do it. I'm not doing it, of course. I do go to the psychoanalysis there for about 15 years. I still didn't make a big progress, but I hope one day I will. It's a long process. But okay, Let's see. In the meantime, we are developing our personality. We are working on our personality that can take a lot of time. What else we can do? First point is the ceremonial magic. That's why we have a lot of rituals and all that stuff that referring to the planet stars and all that thing that kind of, for now, reserved for the higher degrees of the order. And here there I made some papers and give it to some higher degrees initiates. That's one of the methods that we can talk much about right now. And the second method, they're gems. So we have the Spanish king, Alfonso X the Wise. So he used the specific gems. So when they made the coronation of the king, the astrologer will open his chart and realize what are the exact gems, I'm saying, or crystals that should be in his crown to make his planet better. So, and he made lapidarium called, so it's a very big study on the gems. So if you're interested to know the relations that you can use in your chart, you can email me, and I'm going to send you in order to avoid torturing right now. So, with gems. So that's the second method. Fourth method is mantras using Vedic astrology. So you can find it on the internet. That's something that Wade recommends me. I never tried, I have to say, but it's one of, Wade said that it's worked, I believe it. So, but I wanted to mention it right now. And now we have something very important. I don't know if maybe you noticed that. So this guy hates compliments. That's why we're not going to give him any compliment. We're just going to tell some facts that so far I know he's the only occultist I know after the Egyptian priest who have his pieces in a British museum. Yeah, so the art of talismans, it's very important, and in my experience, the talismans and the relocation that we're going to talk right now are the most effective things to make better our chart. I mean, unless we dissolve our personality, we change our personality, we cannot make more significant changes. But it can help very much to soften the suffering or difficult situations. So, also the book, the Planetary Magic, you can read it and you can see a practical way how to cast talisman, what movement and what to do with it. So that's very important. And finally, the amusing part, the relocation of the solar revolution. That's the thing that we can control primary with my annual chart. You know, I didn't care, I got sick. So I could fix it. Why? Because the planet is going to go back to its, let's call it the birthday chart. So the birthday chart, as we could see in the example of the Spanish king, depends what's going to happen day by day. There's the day-by-day clock. So, I can't control the planets up there, but I can control where I'm going to be that day. So, I can put on the ascendant the positive planet and make it dominant to that year. So, if I have a very negative primary direction, I can put domicile planet on my ascendant by moving to Los Angeles to wait for my birthday, or to Japan, or whatever I want, because in that moment I can put it wherever I want, and in that moment I'm going to have a benefit effect. Now I'm going to share with you the example that I have thanks to the Elias, who is the creator of Astrospica, and it is a consult that he made. So he had a client who had a bad primary directions, and for that year, if she was supposed to be in Navarra, Spain, she needed to have a moon and Mars in 12th house. And the moon in the 12th house with Mars is the ruler of the 8th house of death. Am I right? So it's not a good year in having Mars primary direction. So what he did, he told her to go to Rome to have a coffee to return. Yeah, and she did. And she did, and she moved those planets to the 11th house. That's the house of friends, and not house of suffering and all this. So she changed that. So it is not the sun who is ruling it's not the moon who is ruling the 8th house. And she was very fine that year. 2 of her friends died in accident because it is a house of friends, 11th house. So the question that you shouldn't ask, because I don't know, if she killed them, are they going to die anyway? I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe she was going to die first and then anyway they're going to die. I don't know. They're all combinations. That's why, as the Jung used to say in these cases, I don't know. I'm just passing the facts. So we can see there is many very easy ways to soften our bad conditions from our natal charts, and to make that easier for us before we may complete the grand work and became immortal. Okay, so thank you very much. Any questions? I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer, but you ask. Okay. Thank you. Oh.
I don't understand how moving to a physical location.
Oh yeah, because you've changed the Earth position, the Earth situation of the planets. And the planet has 2 things: the cosmic situation of the planet and the terrestrial situation of the planet. So the cosmic situation of the planet depends if the planet is in rulership, if it's exaltation, and if disposer and the big star and all of these things is the cosmic situation we cannot know. The terrestrial situation of the planet, if the planet is found on the ascendant, on the mid-heaven, on the cusp of the planet. So when I ask you to give me your chart, what do you need to give me? Your birthday? And the location, yeah, because the terrestrial situation of the planet depends on the location. Depends on your location. You can be you can have a planet on the ascendant. You can have a planet on the descendant, depending on the point of the year when you find yourself in that.
What if you can't move?
Then you are in the wrong. If you can't move, you go to wait. If you can't move, you go to wait.
Or go just have a vacation.
You said that the solar revolution chart tells you day by day. I don't understand that part.
Okay.
It's day by day.
If we go here, okay. So we write the chart for that year. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, on the same manner that we do primary direction, on my natal chart, I do the same for my annual chart. And it's 360. So, almost 1 degree per year means 1 day.
I thought that was a progression or a secondary progression.
Secondary progression is when you move 1 degree per day. Per year.
Oh, so you take the solar return
Solar revolution, and then I progress it.
365
Yeah.
degrees.
Yeah, and I progress it. Yeah, that's the solar revolution, the progression
So
of the solar revolution.
if you put the solar return chart on your actual solar return birth moment for, age 37 or something, and then you moved the chart 5 days forward, that would be the 5th day of that year?
No. There are 2 things, The first thing is your natal chart.
Yeah.
that you're going to progress.
Right.
First to direct and then to progress. So when you direct the chart, it is 1 degree for year. 1 degree for year, that's the direction of your natal chart. And that's the clock that shows years, how the years are moving. So But when you take your solar revolution, that's your birthday chart, and do the same thing, moving it approximately 1 degree per day,
Right.
then you have a daily prediction.
So the 5th day of your solar revolution chart would be the 5th day of your birth.
No, they're not connected.
Of that.
They're not connected. Your solar revolution, because let's go here. Look, here we have the hierarchy of prognosis is here. So you have primary direction are related to your chart, to your natal chart, primary directions. Secondary progressions are also done with your natal chart. Solar revolution is not made by your natal chart.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, so here, in this moment, what you do is just moving that same chart that is not related, I mean, everything is related, but it's for the purpose of the explanation. That is not related with your original natal chart. You just move that chart around,
The solar revolution
the
chart.
solar revolution chart, and you have 1 day per year.
Well, I thought that's what I asked you. So if you move your solar revolution chart 5 degrees,
Why don't we do this? Right now, when we finish, I'm going to enter in the program and we're going to do it here. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So you were talking about the astrospica.net.
.net.
site.
.net.
Dot
.net.
net,
Yeah.
sorry. Because I was trying to
Okay.
capture the information. Could you repeat again exactly what the
I'm going to
program
repeat
does?
it quickly. We are out of time. Okay. It's here, so you can put it. So if you have any other question, if we have more questions, we can just let the rest of the program moving, and we can see all these things here in practice. Okay?
okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.